Right now, I'm challenging myself to see if I can make 128 Regulation H teams that are each different from one another over the course of 128 days. Why 128, you might ask? At the end of the 128 days, we're going to do something special where we battle every team against each other in a single elimination bracket to see which team emerges on top. There will be some competitively strong teams, there will be some gimmick teams, and there will be some probably a good number of goofs and gaffs in there, so if you want to follow through to the end, subscribe so that you can keep up with each day. But without further ado, let's move on to day 2. Alright, welcome to day 2 of the 128 Reg H Teams Challenge. Today we're going to be going over the Sun Team that I've been using on stream recently. However, the Sun Team that I've been using on stream recently has a Fluttermane on it, and Fluttermane is not allowed in Regulation H, so we're just gonna have to make a quick adjustment with the power of editing. So this team is a Sun Team, and it is all based kind of around the Pokemon Exeggutor, just because I think Exeggutor does a lot of really funny things. Starting off with the Pokemon Exeggutor, you're Grass Psychic, which is a pretty unique typing, all things considered, and it allows you to do things like Sleep Powder, so that way you can put things to sleep, and you also have the move Expanding Force, which, as we used on Hatterene last time, is a really strong Psychic type move that you can get whenever Psychic Terrain is up. And then we also have the Giga Drain to heal ourselves. And then in order to give Exeggutor type coverage, we have our Terra Rock Terra Blast. This allows us to hit things like bug types and flying types and fire types, so it's really good to turn the tables on your opponent in a closed team sheet format. And even better to work with our team's format, we have the Chlorophyll ability, which will double our speed in the sun. And it turns out that Exeggutor is exactly fast enough. If you just invest 252 EVs into your speed, and you don't have to be a positive speed nature, that will double to 214. And as we'll see here with Dragapult, Dragapult is like one of the faster base speed things inside of Regulation H, and it only maxes out at 213 speed when you give yourself enough speed EVs to be 252 and a positive speed nature. So being 214 speed inside of Sun is really helpful for Exeggutor to get it going. And we also have the Twisted Spoon, which will boost the power of Psychic type moves, notably just our Expanding Force, but you can definitely swap out a Life Orb on Exeggutor if you want to. Next up, we have the return of Indeedee, and as we said last time, Indeedee is the only Pokemon in the game that is really good at setting up Psychic Terrain, because it will do it automatically once it enters the battle with its Psychic Surge ability. And then we have the Psychic Seed again to increase our special defense by 1. And this time on Indeedee, we have pretty much the same set, except this time we have Dazzling Gleam to give us a little bit of Fairy type coverage along with our Terra Fairy type. And it's pretty much the same idea as the last Indeedee, where you use Terra Fairy because Fairy resists Dark, and Dark is the only thing that Indeedee is weak to, with it being Psychic Normal. Next up on the team, we have our Sun Setter, which is Torkoal with the Drought ability, and we also have the move Heat Wave, Earth Power, Helping Hand, and Protect. Now this Torkoal, you usually see Torkoals with like Eruption, but I don't think that Torkoal makes too much sense on this team, since we're not going for like a Trick Room angle. We're just trying to go on a very fast sort of angle here, where we hit our opponent with our Sun based strategy as fast as possible. And so having that Heat Wave and Earth Power to kind of support the team is really handy, but also having Helping Hand on this Torkoal to boost the power of the Pokemon that's next to you that can be faster than everything that Torkoal obviously isn't is really good. And since this is a more supportive Torkoal, we're going with the Terra type of Grass, so that way we can't get slipped by Pokemon like Amoonguss who want to use Spore into us. And we have full EVs in HP and defense EVs in order to make sure that Torkoal can survive a physical attack the best it possibly can, with its naturally high defense stat. And then it is notable that we have a negative speed nature here, just because in case we do get in the Trick Room, it's better to be speed tying opposing Torkoals, so that way you can use Earth Power into them, in case you come against a Torkoal that is using the Eruption-based strategy. Next up, we have our replacement for Fluttermane, which is going to be Dragapult. Now, Fluttermane was very good at speed control because it could hold the Focus Sash item, and that would guarantee that as long as your opponent wasn't doubling up into you with 2 very fast mons, that you would at least get off an Icy Wind. And with Torkoal to activate your Photosynthesis, your Icy Wind is really fast. But Dragapult is still really fast when you look at everything that's in Regulation H. So as a form of lesser speed control, we have the Thunder Wave on Dragapult, and then we also have some special attacking options in Draco Meteor and Shadow Ball. But if we need Dragapult to leave, we can just click U-turn to bring in something perhaps like Combo or Incineroar or Indeedee to set up Psychic Terrain, or Torkoal to set up the Sun. Just not Exeggutor. You'd probably never U-turn into Exeggutor. And then I quickly just chose the Clear Body ability on Dragapult, just in case your opponent is trying to go for any special attacking dropping or speed dropping on Dragapult, then you can just ignore it. But I think all three of the abilities are kind of fine to use here on this team. I haven't actually tested it out as the Dragapult switch, and I just kind of grabbed this since Dragapult's going to be good in this regulation anyways. Fifth here we have Combo-O, and Combo-O helps round out a lot of things that all the previous Pokemon can't touch. Since we have a lot of Psychic and Grass type things and Dragon type things, it's nice to have a really strong special attacking fighting type to help you deal with things like Incineroar. And other little nosy steel types like Goldango if Goldango's going to Terastallize into steel. But this Combo-O set is entirely based around the idea of getting your Clangorous Soul off, so that way you can give yourself a +1 and then get rid of a third of your health, but that trade-off is very worth it, especially whenever you have the leftovers to heal you up at the end of the turn. And Combo-O is another one where all three abilities are pretty viable right now. Not so much sure about Bulletproof, but definitely Soundproof to make yourself immune to Parting Shot and other sound-based moves is pretty good, but Overcoat to make you immune to powder moves such as Spore, it's helpful. And then I chose the speed stat so that whenever you get off the Clangorous Soul, you were at 180 base speed, which was a pretty important number to hit at the time during Regulation F. However, that speed stat that you want to hit has probably changed, so you could invest some more of your speed back into your bulk if you really wanted to. And as for our moves, we have two of our really strong stab moves, with that being Clanging Scales that'll hit both targets but lower your defense by 1 for using it. And you also have Aura Sphere, which cannot miss, which can be very helpful in some matchups, especially if you're trying to go up against like a Scoville and Muck, which will definitely rear its head at some point during this format. And then with our Terra type of Steel, we can also justify using Flash Cannon to beat things like fairies that want to switch in on us in order to counter our weaknesses. And lastly, we have Incineroar, who has a lot of variable sets because it's Incineroar. It's the best VGC Pokemon of all time, and if you're not using an Incineroar, you gotta justify it, even though I do think Incineroar is going to struggle a little bit more during this format with all of the water types running around. On my initial Incineroar set, we had Snarl, Fake Out, Knock Off, because those are pretty good Incineroar moves for getting rid of items and dealing good Dark-type damage. But on the original set, I had Will-O-Wisp instead of Flare Blitz, and I found out that I really regretted not having Flare Blitz on Incineroar whenever we're running a Sun Team here, because we can get boosted Flare Blitz damage in the Sun. So we have Flare Blitz now. We have Terra Ghost to avoid getting hit by fighting types and also other useful ghost resistances. But without further ado, let's get into some battling. Okay, our opponent has a real balanced team here with Rillaboom and Incineroar Palafin, but they also have the Blood Moon Ursaluna and Goldango, which are rather offensive here. I think we have a pretty good matchup if we start Combo and Incineroar, and then in the back, for emergency purposes, we're gonna need Dragapult and I think Torkoal to beat Goldango. Yeah, let's do that and we'll see what happens. When it starts Incineroar Palafin, their Incineroar's faster than mine. Their Palafin is going to get to leave and their Incineroar is going to get Fake Out. But I think it's worth trying to go for the Clangorous Soul Blaze and then knocking off whatever Palafin switches into, or if Palafin attacks, I'm also fine with that because it's not leaving. Then again, they could attack with Palafin here and reliably, I don't know how much Wave Crash is going to do. Could Clangorous Soul and swap in Torkoal, that way we have our Sun up and then we can bring Incineroar back in. They Fake Out, oh, they actually Fake Out into Torkoal, which is good for us here. But what is, does Palafin just haze here? Palafin haze is not good. Okay, they kind of play a little risky here and they decide to haze with Palafin. I don't think they'll do it again since I just did it. So I'm willing to bring Incineroar back in. And Palafin protects this turn. You have Clangorous Soul, and what does Incineroar do? Is Incineroar gonna Parting Shot out? Okay, Parting Shot's out. Not a lot of use for Overcoat here, gonna be honest. Being soundproof would have been much better, and now they're in a position where they can haze and Fake Out with Rillaboom. But we have Sun up, so we can easier justify taking out Rillaboom, and if they Terra Fire on Rillaboom, then that's a pretty worthwhile trade. They have to get Palafin out here if realistically, because Palafin's gonna start taking damage, and they really should save that for later. I think I'm going to Aura Sphere and Flare Blitz into Rillaboom. Okay, they faked out that slot. Palafin takes about half, which is not as it's not as good as I would like it to be. Not a lot of damage is all there, considering we were +1. But I'm gonna keep Aura Sphere in the Palafin slot, and Flare Blitz and a Rillaboom. Okay, they swapped in Incineroar this time. So now like, okay, Rillaboom is going Terra Fire. Aura Sphere does notable damage to Incineroar. High Horsepower comes out onto our Incineroar. Our Incineroar gets to eat the berry. And we've at least drawn out their Terra, which is good. But now they can't Terra on their Incineroar, even though they can fake out here. So I'm going to Aura Sphere, and let's get... I really don't want to take another High Horsepower. Let's get Torkoal back in here, so that way we can cycle back in Incineroar. The other one goes for the High Horsepower, but our Torkoal is super tanky. And our Sun does disappear, but we're about to cycle in Incineroar, so I'm not too afraid of the consequences. I think I'm just going to keep clicking Aura Sphere into that... we could go for the Clangorsoul here, actually. We can... I'm going to Aura Sphere and actually Earth Power this slot, just in case they decide to... Okay, we get rid of Incineroar, which is good. High Horsepower. We get to Earth Power, and that does a pretty nice amount of chip. Grassy Terrain is now gone, but Palafin comes in, but Palafin isn't doing super, like, good amounts of damage here as long as we have Kamo on the field. At this point, I think I'm pretty okay with using... We can swap Torkoal out for Dragapult, because I'm not sure how much more play Dragapult will have in this game. It depends on what they have in the back. Playing Scales would do a lot to both, but I really don't want to lower my defense here, so I'm just going to click Aura Sphere into Rillaboom and swap in Dragapult. Okay, Palafin protects. We got off the Aura Sphere into Rillaboom, which almost KOs it, but they High Horsepower into Kamo. And now, alright, opponent has decided that they cannot win this battle because I have Kamo on the field. Let's go into game 2. So what would be their adjustment to get rid of Kamo? If anything, I think it would be like a Blood Moon Ursaluna lead. Also Golden-Go lead. Oh, Golden-Go has Trick Choice specs. I did not pay attention to that last time. But if I'm going to predict a Blood Moon Ursaluna lead, and then having like the Giraffe in the back, then it makes the most sense for me to do like Kamo, Exeggutor, and then have Indeedee and Incineroar, I think. We're up a game, so we can afford to play around a little bit here. Okay, they actually just decide to lead Goldango instead. So we could swap in Indeedee for Exeggutor here, and then get off our Clangorsoul, and that allows us to kind of deal with Goldango if we can get Incineroar in. I think we're going to go Clangorsoul and swap in Indeedee, because they're going to think that they can get the fake out. Yeah, they think they can get the fake out. Actually, into Oh, what? Their Goldango is faster than my Kamo? Okay, well, they just absolutely bricked us into Clangorsoul. But now we have choice specs on Kamo, which can come in handy later. Dang, if I went for the Aura Sphere into Incineroar there, we would have been in such a good position. But I guess that's my fault for thinking that... Yeah, Goldango's pretty fast. I guess that's my fault for not acknowledging Kamo's speed and that they could trick first. Going for the knockoff into... Actually, I'm probably going to switch out. But knockoff into Goldango is still pretty safe. They decide to knock off Indeedee. Okay, they parting shot at Incineroar. And that's... Okay, that's so they can get Blood Moon Ursaluna in. But we should be faster than Blood Moon Ursaluna. And we knocked off Rillaboom. So this could be a Trick Room Gambit. If it's Trick Room, then we're in a bad spot. I think Snarl and Aura Sphere covers Trick Room. But it doesn't cover if Ursaluna just decides to attack. Is this Dazzling Gleam? No, okay. I'm gonna not cover for Trick Room here. Okay, they Trick Roomed. At least with the Trick Room though, they can't. We're kind of on time stall here, but I'm gonna try hitting the Ursaluna and using our Terra Steel here. Snarl drops the special attack, which is going to be helpful, and Aura Sphere actually just picks up KO, probably because we're choice spec. We still have Indeedee, so we can swap in Indeedee and go for the fake out. Well, you're intimidated with Incineroar. Am I okay with losing Kamo here? All they have in the back is Goldango, Farigiraf, and Incineroar, and I think we need to keep Incineroar alive to beat Goldango. So I don't think they're going to attack into here. I'm pretty fine with swapping in Exeggutor and losing Kamo here. Oh, the ally switch and Flare Blitz. Okay. Getting over there Incineroar is about to be really tricky, though. Gonna follow me. We're gonna get knocked off on Ndidi. Ndidi lives it. Rigraff goes down, and we saw Goldango's pretty fast. But it does have leftovers right now. I think it's most worth to... No, we can't sleep out of the Incineroar because it has safety goggles. This really comes down to the Incineroar 1v1. And let's do... Terra Blast into the Incineroar to get damage and follow me. So that takes that out, but now we bring in our own Incineroar. We can knock off the Goldango. The Thunderbolt doesn't activate enough of our berry. Oh, but we crit the knockoff, which is good. So now it is down to Incineroar versus Incineroar. But we still have our berry, don't we? Oh, we don't have our berry, so we lose this one. We ate it whenever we got hyper voiced by the Ursaluna. Okay, that was my mistake then. So what do I count on this time? I guess I have to lead Kamo and Incineroar. Exeggutor was kind of dead weight there, even though it did help clean up at the very end. We're gonna do what I did the first game. We're gonna have Torkoal just in case they want to get Trick Room up again. Because Torkoal can deal damage in Trick Room. Okay, they lead Goldango and Incineroar again. So if they Terra Ghost, I'm gonna cover that by Aura Sphering and knocking off the Goldango. Because I switched it in Ndidi last time, but I don't have Ndidi this time. Okay, are they gonna do the same gambit? No, they tricked Incineroar. Well, this time they don't have choice specs to trick onto Kamo, so I can just set up Kamo pretty freely here, I think. And get rid of Goldango, who's the hardest thing to remove with Kamo. Does this come down to whether or not I think they're gonna set up Trick Room again? They're gonna ally. They could ally switch too. I think I have to Clanging Scales and knock off. No, but they could Terra Fairy. This all really comes down to what they're gonna do on this turn. Then again, if they ally switch, then they can't. Then they're gonna attack with Incineroar. So I think I'm gonna Aura Sphere and knock off the Farigiraf slot. Okay, they do ally switch. Flarebutt's Kamo, but we get rid of their Incineroar. Their knockoff, and now they only have 2 Pokemon left, so who else is in the back? We're Dragapult, and we still have our Terra. We can't get the Draco. We can Terra Fairy for Farigiraf. I think I have to make the crazy play, which is Shadow Balling and knocking off the Farigiraf. So no, they still get the Trick Room here. Dragapult has a Focus Sash. Psychic. Let's Draco and knock off the Ursaluna. They Blood Moon into Dragapult, which means they're going to take out Dragapult here. And they Psychic Dragapult, which makes sense. Oh, they can't touch Incineroar here, actually. Well, they can, but Farigiraf can't touch Incineroar. I really think they're going to attack into Torkoal here, so I'm going to take a bit of extra chip. Okay, they overpower into Torkoal. We got a little bit of extra chip. E-Wave has to come out this turn. It just doesn't do enough. Man, the Terra Grass. The Terra Grass would have gotten me out of it, because now they just Blood Moon Incineroar. Oh, but Incineroar lives. Oh, we don't have our berry, because we keep getting our berry taken from us. And if I was still dark, the Farigiraf wouldn't be able to touch me. Well, GG. Man, if I just saved my Terra for one turn later, I really thought that they might attack into Incineroar there, but that's just the misplay that gets you there, but still really close. Like, if I had saved Terra Grass for Torkoal on that one turn, and Torkoal lived the turn, then we could have gotten off 2 Heat Waves. But then again, they could always Blood Moon into Torkoal instead, or Blood Moon into Incineroar on the one turn that they can, so... just a very, a lot of series of 50-50s that I probably could play better, but still really close. Okay, this is like a pretty similar team to the last team that we played, actually. This is a balanced team with Rillaboom and Incineroar, but instead of Palafin, they have Primarina. So what is my... I'm really scared of Choice Band Dragapult here, even though I do have my own Dragapult. Our Dragapult can beat their Dragapult, theoretically, though. I'm gonna lead Dragapult, and then have Exeggutor. Actually, Exeggutor doesn't play into anything really well in this matchup. A lot of anti-Psy spam here. Primarina is their worst lead, though. I don't really have much to defeat Primarina with its massive special bulk. Maybe I do go Exeggutor, and then have Ndidi, and Torkoal back? Yeah, I think I go Torkoal back. Yeah, their Primarina has a lot of play into us here. So Incineroar can be faster than us. This is gonna be strange. Again, Thunder Wave Incineroar to make it slower so we can at least Giga Drain with Exeggutor. I think I'm gonna do that. Okay, they fake out. What is Primarina doing? Okay, Primarina's Calm Minding. I think we should just Thunder Wave that too and then Giga Drain it. Okay, they decided to grass Primarina. What does Primarina do? Be paralyzed. Everything on their side is paralyzed. Brilliant. But now we can get super effective U-turn, and I can go for Expanding Force. Because we'll U-turn into Indeedee and we'll get off the Expanding Force boosted power. So even if Exeggutor gets knocked out this turn, I'm pretty okay with that. So we've now done a lot of damage to the Primarina, and Indeedee unfortunately is going to take the sack here. So now I'm going to, they have Protect, they do have Protect on Primarina. I'm going to target down Incineroar this turn. Oh, they could go for Hyper Voice though. I'm going to get Giga Drain to get some of my health back. Incineroar Parting Shots Torkoal, but into who? Farigiraf, okay. And Incineroar hits the field again. But let's Helping Hand, Terra Rock, Terra Blast, Incineroar. The only thing I'm afraid of is that they have Rillaboom in the back. Because if they have Rillaboom in the back, things get pretty sketchy. They tried faking out Torkoal, which is a misplay. But I don't think Incineroar would have done anything here anyways. Dazzling Gleam comes out, and last but not least is Goldango. Okay. So I think I can Heat Wave and click... This isn't Sap Sipper, right? No, it's Armor Tail. Let's Giga Drain and Farigiraf, and then since we have Dragapult in the back, I think we can pretty easily clean up this first game here. The Goldango is immune to Helping Hand, so it doesn't get the Helping Hand, but it does Shadow Ball and the Torkoal. If it was Helping Hand boosted, they would have gotten the boost, but if they weren't good as gold, then I could have just put them to sleep with the Exeggutor. Helping Hand. Is this a Protect? It doesn't have Protect. Terra Blast is a little bit stronger right now. I'm gonna go for the Terra Rock Terra Blast though. It's a little bit stronger, so it can help us get Farigiraf's KO. They're nasty plotting. They got rid of Torkoal, but now we just bring in Dragapult, who has the Focus Sash. We can Shadow Ball. We still have Sun Up, so we're still faster. We can even afford to Expanding Force here. So Farigiraf should be low enough that will work. Oh wait. We're not on terrain anymore, but it doesn't matter. We killed Farigiraf, and we killed Goldango. Okay, this game, they're gonna have to position their Primarina a little bit more carefully. So what would they do to position their Primarina a little bit more? They could bring their own Dragapult. I feel pretty fine leading Dragapult and Incineroar. And then, what is their Primarina item again? It's Covert Cloak. I feel pretty fine having Exeggutor. What I did last time was crazy. Last time was Dragapult, Exeggutor, and Torkoal and Indeedee. This time I gotta bring Rillaboom though, I feel like. Rillaboom does have the U-turn. I think I'm not gonna bring Exeggutor this time. We're just gonna have Dragapult, Torkoal, Indeedee, and Kommo-o. Actually, let's just lead Kommo-o and Indeedee. And have Torkoal, Dragapult in the back. We lead Primarina again. Our attack goes down, but we can get off the Clangorous Soul. So let's Clangorous Soul and Follow Me. I think if I was to make this team again, I would definitely make it physical Dragapult, because it feels like we're lacking a lot of physical pressure here, and that would help us deal with Indeedee a lot. Or, it would help us deal with the Primarina a lot. Incineroar Parting Shots, but who does Incineroar Parting Shot into? Okay, Dragapult. Primarina Calm Minds. So I can get rid of Dragapult, but Primarina needs to really be dealt with. So I'm gonna go Terra Steel, Flash Cannon, and Helping Hand with Indeedee. Get Dragon Darts, or Terra Steel, so we resist it. Flash Cannon does about half, and we resist that too. Okay. So now, logically, Dragapult should go... So I'm pretty cool with just clicking... We could swap in Incineroar here. I'm pretty cool with just doing this and protecting Indeedee this turn. Because as long as we get the same roll that we got last time. Oh, but last time it was Helping Hand boosted. Yeah, we gotta do the Helping Hand boost. They Dragon Darts again. Now we're gonna be able to pick up the Flash Cannon KO on Primarina, and we got rid of one of our biggest threats there. Okay, but now they have Goldango. Dragapult, they haven't used their Terra yet, but they still have Incineroar in the back. I think I'm pretty fine with their Terra Water and Goldango. So what if I just Clanging Scales for all the damage that we can get? Had to be Incineroar in the back again though, with just Dragapult is the thing. Let's Clanging Scales and Protect Indeedee. This combo can live the 2 Dragon Darts as long as we don't get crit. Dragapult gets taken out by crit, but I don't think that crit mattered. And, okay, Goldango Nasty Plots. So we're on the last turn of Psychic Terrain, but Incineroar doesn't get to intimidate anything else. They haven't used their Terra yet. I think I'm just going to use Aura Sphere to take out Incineroar. Because if they use the Terra on Goldango later to make themselves neutral to Dragapult, the Dragapult just still has to 2 KO that. So we're going to Helping Hand Aura Sphere here. Goldango protects, which I think is actually the wrong move, as now we take out Incineroar. And with Dragapult's Sash in the back, they have to Terra Water at some point. But I think actually no, Clanging Scales is our best upfront damage. So let's do that to get as much damage as we can. Mega Rain comes out and KOs both. Goldango drops down his special attack, but now we can just bring in Torkoal and Dragapult. And because Dragapult has a Focus Sash, and they don't have the ability to be immune to Shadow Ball, we should be good. Yeah, alright, GG. A little bit of a team change up there, but I feel like we handled that pretty confidently, even though that was a similar team to that last one, but even though I think this one was definitely scarier because they had Primarina, it was all just about getting our Kamo into position and getting that good neutral damage with Flash Cannon. Okay, ooh, quite the change up here. We're seeing a lot of Trick Room-based things. Milotic Competitive really keeps us from bringing in Incineroar, even though we really need it to beat Sinistcha, or Skeledirge would be handy here, also handy into Kingambit. They don't have Haze, I don't think. Their Clefairy has Thunder Wave, though. This is a lot to take in. Their Sinistcha has Stun Spore. There's a lot of things to make things slow, even though this is Trick Room. Only the Giraffe is Trick Room, though. The Giraffe is Grassy Seed, though, despite not having a way to set up grassy terrain. Their Skeledirge is unaware, which makes things difficult. I think I'm going to start with Dragapult, and then have Torkoal. No, let's have Exeggutor. And then we're going to have Indeedee and Torkoal in back. Let's see what our opponent starts with. They start Clefairy Milotic. Okay, this is a pretty good opening for us. So what we can do is we can Q-turn, and then we can click the Expanding Force, and Ice Beam shouldn't KO us unless they Helping Hand it. Now, let's just do the basic thing. Let's U-turn and Expanding Force here. Okay, so they don't Helping Hand, so Ice Beam shouldn't knock us out, even though Exeggutor is kind of frail. You get it in Indeedee. Okay, Exeggutor is faster than Milotic, which is good. And Milotic uses Ice Beam into Indeedee, which puts us in a great spot. They can bring in Kingambit here, but I'm pretty satisfied with taking a KO on either Mon, whatever they switch into. Seems like they actually give us the KO on both, since we're faster with both. And what do they have in the back? They have Skeledirge Sinistcha. Okay, so they didn't bring Kingambit here. I think if you're going to fight a team that has Scythe Spam, you really should have Kingambit in the back. But with Kamo threatening Aura Sphere into Kingambit, I can kind of get, and the 2 fire types, I can kind of get why you wouldn't bring Kingambit here. Neither of these have the ability to be resisted to Expanding Force. So we're just going to Helping Hand Expanding Force, and it looks like that's going to end the game. Okay, game 2 has to be the Kingambit switch up. So I think to counter the Kingambit switch up, we're going to have Kamo-O. I have to be careful because I can't reliably set up Clangorous and Kamo-O, because then we get pretty hard hit by Skeledirge, and it becomes very difficult to deal with Skeledirge. I think we start Kamo Incineroar, though. And if they lead Milotic, I really don't think Milotic's going to come here. Let's lead Kamo, Incineroar, Torkoal, and have Dragapult in back. It's Clefairy for a Giraffe. Okay, I like this one. This doesn't have a fairy attack. Oh wait, yes it does. It is Moonblast. This can only terrestrialize into normal, though. I'm going to try and take down the Clefairy, because I don't think I care very much if they actually get Trick Room up. With Incineroar Snarl... Okay, Incineroar is... Wait, no, the Giraffe set that up. The Giraffe set up the Reflect. Clefairy is slower than Incineroar. Am I okay with just losing Kamo? We have things to deal with King. It's gotta be Kingambit in the back. We can double the Clefairy slot, though. They follow me anyways, but yeah, I want a Clefairy gone. Even though... Oh, the Giraffe has Expanding Force, even though they don't have Psychic Terrain. Okay. In comes the Skeledirge, and Incineroar's in a pretty good spot here. I want to save Kamo for later if I can, though. So we're going to swap in Torkoal, and we're going to go for the knockoff into... I guess Skeledirge for now. Torch Song is coming out, that's getting set up. One sets up Trick Room, but now we have Torkoal in, so we can Earth Power and knock off the Skeledirge. And even if they Terrestrialize Skeledirge, I think that'll still pick up KO. Okay, they Terrestrialize into Fire, but yeah, it seems like even with the boosted attack, Knockoff's going to be able to KO Skeledirge there. And they get the Light Screen with the Giraffe, who's pretty fast, so it actually moves after Incineroar and Trick Room. But now they have Sinistcha, and I feel like the game is pretty much over now. We are like just outside of eating our Agua Berry with Incineroar, but the only thing that they can touch us with is Matcha Gotcha. Yeah, it's only Matcha Gotcha and Sinistcha, so our chance of getting the berry here is pretty likely. You kind of just have to wait out their screens here, I think. I really do not get why they didn't bring Kingambit here. Like, I feel like Kingambit, to counter the play that we just had, was definitely the play. But it seems like, yeah, the opponents give it up. Okay, so I feel like this was actually a pretty good display of how this team functions. Dragapult was definitely the right swap-in to deal with Goldangos there, as we saw. But it does require you to make some reads sometimes, like you saw in that first game, if you're going to fight something like Balance that can switch out a lot and really move around what things are weak to, so you gotta roll with the punches on this team. But I like this team a lot. Again, this is one of the teams that I use on stream, except for Dragapult. There's a Fluttermane in the Dragapult spot. But if you want to earn one of these Pokemon, except for... I'm out of one of these. I think it's the Kamo-Os. I'd have to check. But if you want to earn one of these Pokemon, I do streams where if you beat me in a set of battles, then you get my Pokemon. We're actually going to have one of these streams going up later tonight that this is being recorded and edited, so come on out and we'll have a good old time battling. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you very much.